Hi, everyone. My name is Lenara, and I work at Dig Insights, which is a market research consultancy based in Toronto. Dig Perspectives is a place that we've created for all the wonderful people that we work at Dig with, and to connect with them and talk about the different topics related to research, insights, and working in the industry and more. And this time we're changing our format a little bit and we're going into the video realm. And this episode's topic is particularly interesting because we are talking about the role of women in research. And I'm sitting here with Cheryl Hung and Elizabeth Nowicki, and they are vice presidents of Dig Insights, and they're super experienced female professionals and just amazing women who have agreed to participate in this episode and share a bit of their experience of working in the industry. So let's just say hi to them. It's nice to have you here, ladies. So let's just begin with the simple question. Just tell us about yourself, how your career path led to your current role in Dig and what you did in the past. Elizabeth, let's start with you.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so yes, I'm Elizabeth, Vice President at Dig. I've been at Dig for about 5 years now, almost 5 years, but I've been in the research industry since 2006. So I actually came from the research analyst program at Georgian College, where upon graduating, there was an internship. I moved to Millward Brown at the time, spent a couple years there, then to Environics Research Group, where I spent about 7 years. Did 2 years on the client side and then over to Dig Insights. So a lot of my career has been on the supplier side and doing mostly quantitative research, but definitely some qualitative along the way, a little bit of dabbling on the client side, but very well versed in supplier side research.
That's cool. Cheryl, what about you?
I'm so impressed with the way that you know all of your dates, because if you were to ask me my dates, I completely cannot remember. But I am Cheryl Hung, what you said, Elizabeth, Vice President at Dig Insights. Unlike you, I actually spent 100% of my career on the supplier side. So I've been with market research consultancies, most in the Toronto area for the duration of my career. And I believe I've been at Dig around 6+ years, so just a little bit longer than you have, Elizabeth. And here we are. I am a woman. I'm in research.
Yeah. I just remember my dates because I'm always shocked at how long I've been working in this industry.
Can't remember
yeah, well,
dates.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So could you tell us, maybe kind of starting off with the first question, just the title, or I guess the name of A Woman in Research, what does it mean to you? And do you think that we should even label ourselves like that? And maybe Cheryl, you could kick us off.
Yeah, working in the diversity and inclusion space, like I don't know if it'll happen, but in our generation, I would just love to not label ourselves and distinguish, like we're BIPOC, like support BIPOC businesses. Like, yes, we're at a point where we do need to call out, inequities and be a little bit more conscious with our actions. But the title or the phrase women in research is like, yes, I am a woman, I am in market research. On the flip side, we never say you are a man in research. Like, there's no organization for that, right? But it's not to say that we don't have very different experiences than our male counterparts. We certainly do, right? Like, I can rattle off a whole bunch of examples where we have different experiences, and it's not unique to market research or the consulting side. If you were to ask any of your, friends and family in different industries, whether they're in banking or, like working as a frontline worker, I'm sure they'll be able to tell you very unique perspectives of being a woman or a female in their industry. Same as us.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, woman in research is I'm just a woman. I happen to be a woman. It's what the industry I'm in, I agree, doesn't really matter. And yeah, we have different experiences, but it's not unique to this industry by any means.
Yeah, that's true. I think you kind of touched on that, the kind of sharing your own experience of being a woman. And maybe you could tell a bit more about maybe if you've ever had a female boss, or if you've ever, and how does that compare to having a male boss? Maybe Elizabeth, we could start with you.
Yeah, and actually I was thinking about that, I definitely think like the idea of women in research has changed too, where maybe it was a little bit more prevalent when I was early in my career, because I remember definitely being young, coming into the industry and seeing some women in leadership positions and thinking, and maybe it's a little bit of their personality, but I always have felt, at least to myself, that they were coming across a bit more aggressive than they needed to be. And so to me, that my interpretation of that was they were trying to be a bit more like men. They felt like they had to be tough, they had to be direct, they had to just always be very business focused in order to get ahead, to get to those leadership positions, where I think that's changed and evolved, like just in my past 15, 16 years, in the industry so far. So that's not so of I guess, a need for women to do today, but definitely I saw that when I was younger. And I remember thinking that's not how I wanted to like grow up and become a leader. I don't want to have to feel that I need to play this game of like that maybe somebody else established. I just want to be myself and, do what I can, how I want to do it really, and hopefully grow up and move up the ladder and be a leader, be on a management team like I am today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally see where you're coming from, Elizabeth. Because if I were to think about like early days in my career, I didn't actually have any female bosses. All of them were male. All of the females that I worked with were more in that support role, either as my counterpart as a analyst, or a little bit more senior to me, and I didn't really see female leaders, certainly at the management side, until I was a few years down. And I do agree with you, and I definitely see what you're coming from when you're talking about that, that toughness about like the female bosses like you. They didn't really have a whole lot of that softer side to managing. And it's a product of the environment that we worked in, and I'm very happy to see that changing.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I feel like also working in a fully female team and having like a female manager as well. I feel like that some of the like prejudices like have changed from the past, and like you don't have to be as assertive, or maybe you don't have to be as tough, I guess,
Yeah.
as like maybe you had to in the past. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's amazing to see the change. And maybe if you could share maybe your experiences of working in a female team. Do you think that's something that maybe differs from working in a male team, or like male dominated team, I guess? Like do you feel like when you were part of the team that you had to be like more, I guess, like assertive or less emotional?
Yeah, I
I'm
would say,
tough. Elizabeth's
yeah.
tough.
You're definitely tougher than me. But I would
I think
say,
I'm
yeah,
pretty tough.
today, again, I'd say today it's not so different or not such a big deal. But again, back in the day, I would feel like working with a group of men, it would be harder to be heard. At least I felt that way, because maybe I'm not as direct. And certainly when I was younger, I was not as confident. I was learning a lot, so I wasn't as assertive as I could have been. And so I felt at that time that maybe my voice wasn't always heard, but in a group of women, it was easier to be heard. Now, like I was saying, now that's changed. Maybe part of that's changed because I've become more experienced. I've become more confident, and I can stand my own. But I like to think, and maybe it's a question I should actually ask some of the junior members, but that is less of I guess, an issue today, right? Like, hopefully everybody is feeling heard, because there definitely is just, more general awareness about diversity and the value of diversity, right? Making sure we're all heard, because we all have, interesting, unique, different ideas.
Yeah, being heard and just learning, from your colleagues around you. I think I was telling you guys, one of my stories was that, we're talking about females, and we're talking about, young females working with predominantly males, and, wishing that we had, female models that we could look up to, that we can
Mm.
actually, connect with. But, if I were to look back at, my younger days when I first started my career, I was, emanating, the male role models that were around me. And, there are some instances where I just kind of look back and think I wasn't a very good human, you know. There were times when I was just like, okay, you know, I'm just plowing, you know, forward in my day to day, and there were moments, and I'm thinking about, you know, this one time where I wished, and I fully regret, you know, my actions. And I'll tell you guys this story that, you know, when a male colleague, and he was senior to me, you know, he came into the office, and I was holding on the fort. I was just doing my thing, and you know, we're sitting down in a meeting together, and I'm going to, you know, through the day to day, I'm like, project, 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 blah, 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 you know, and I look over at him, and he's clearly not in his game. Like, he's not even paying attention to me. And I just go, okay, you're not even paying attention to me. What is wrong? And he felt vulnerable enough, like he trusted me enough, you know, to tell me what was bothering him. And he says, I'm really sorry, you know, I'm not, you know, I'm not paying attention today because of XYZ. And he proceeds to tell me, you know, what was wrong. And in that moment, you know, I was kind of taken aback because I didn't realize that your colleagues could just open up to you, least of all, like a male senior to you could just open up to you and just start discussing their personal problems. And in hindsight, you know, like, to be a great human, to be a friend, what I should have done was slam my notebook shut and say, I'm so sorry you're going through this. You know, I'm here, talk it out. This can wait, work can wait. Right. But obviously, you guys know me. It's like, you know, back in the day, you know, I just kind of like, oh, silence. And what do I do? Blah, 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 project, 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 project. And I completely dismissed him, and I completely brushed him off. And, you know, he just kind of missed a beat, and then was like, wiped his face and was like, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm in it. All right, I'm paying attention. Can you start all over? And you can see him just trying to pull himself together. And, you know, he wasn't that successful, but I plow on because I'm feeling really uncomfortable now, and I just want to get the hell out of there. And, you know, and I look back, and I think of that moment, and I just wish that someone would have told me, like, hey, shut up, you know, about projects for a second here. Like, your colleague is not in the game, and he just needed to connect with someone. He just needed a few minutes of your time to be like a human, and not Cheryl at work, to, you know, dragging things along and whatnot. But that was what I observed largely, you know, around me.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It sounds like he was just looking for a human connection in that moment. Do you feel, though, that makes me think immediately after, like you say you regret it today, did you regret it like soon after? In that moment, did you realize like, oh, you know, I should have been more human? And did you in that moment then also learn? Because I was gonna say, again, that maybe opened your eyes to, oh, I can be more vulnerable and human at work. I don't need to be all business all the time.
Did I realize it the second that I stepped out of the office? No, because I just wanted to pull down because I was so uncomfortable.
A day or two later?
No, it took me a long time. It took me a long time to realize. And it probably stuck with me all this time. I mean, this was years ago, right? And I'm still remembering it so vividly that I could actually tell you guys this story. I still remember it because there was something, you know, along the years I was like, I'm not comfortable with this, right? And I'm not comfortable with how I behaved and how I acted, and I regret it. And it wasn't until I started actually meeting more women at different ranks, to realize that you don't have to be all business all the time, that it's okay, you know, to share a little. And, you know, there are times and there are days when we're not going to be 100% focused at work. And, you know, it's okay to just close a notebook for, you know, for a little bit and just connect with each other. Because like you said, we work 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours with each other nowadays. So we spend a lot of time with each other.
Yeah, and I actually think back to early in my career too. I eventually had a male manager who really was human with me and very, you know, open about, like, just in general, not really deep personal stuff, but would talk about his life. And it's not just business all the time. What did I do on the weekend? What am I planning for vacation? That sort of thing. And I feel like that was really my eye opener of like, oh, I don't need to be so buttoned down and professional and, watch my language, and like I can be human. And that was a huge relief for me, because I'm like, this is what I want. I don't want to have to feel like I'm putting on an act while I'm at work. And so to see he was my manager and like, oh, okay, I can be a manager and human, that just gave me fuel to like, okay, I can still like live kind of the way I want to, but still move up the ladder, still be successful, still build my career as somebody who is more, not so business all the time, but human, and likes to be silly and laugh sometimes, right?
Yeah, that's something that I eventually had to figure out on my own, right? And I'm very lucky that I'm surrounded by you ladies, and that it's okay, to just talk about the TV that we're watching. And there, you can't help it. I mean, especially now, like you guys are in my home, you guys are in my home office.
Yes.
Right. So there isn't that much of a divide.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point of how, like, coming out of COVID, if it is bringing people closer at all at work, you see their pets, see exactly you said, you see literally
Their
inside their
kids.
home. Yeah. So you have so much more appreciation for who they are, like as a human day to day, just in their personal lives. Yeah,
definitely. That's amazing. And like, I'm sure it's something that you kind of also bring to voice the table, like when you work with your teams right now, right? Kind of in your management style and the way that you kind of guide them and motivate them.
Yes. Yeah. Today I like to think, I hope my team that works with me sees me as like, somebody who can be open, vulnerable, human, because we all get stressed. I get stressed too. It's hard to hide it sometimes. Some days I'm just sad, and that's kind of hard to hide too. Some days I'm really happy and I want to like tell jokes and things. So we're all humans. We all go up and down. And so we just need to be understanding of that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. That's amazing. So just for the last part, we're doing something quite interesting to close off our conversation. So it's basically, for the last part of the interview, we are calling this rubric Researchers Read Mean Tweets, and Elizabeth and Cheryl as doing the Insights edition of the Celebrities Read Mean Tweets. And despite the many examples of women being terrible to one another, Elizabeth and Cheryl, they couldn't, well, probably being because of they're really good friends, they couldn't really insult each other. So let me just share my screen. Obviously, Elizabeth and Cheryl couldn't do insults to each other, so we turned to Cards Against Humanity and decided to use some of the reports that Elizabeth and Cheryl were doing for their work. And these are just like some of the inserts from there. So this is what it's going to look like. So there's an opportunity for, and then communications to something. And the inserts will be some of the things that we took from the Cards Against Humanity. So let's start with Elizabeth. This is something that you need to read with a straight face.
Okay.
And humbly accept.
Yes. Okay. There's an opportunity for Elizabeth to improve the creativity of her Halloween costume if she wishes to crush the patriarch while peeing a little bit. Hashtag do better in 2022. And my other ones, oh my. Communications to sperm whales will help Elizabeth from making poor life choices. Hashtag things are looking up. Hashtag motivated. Hashtag ready for 2022.
I love it. That's how you
Nicely done.
Yeah, that's how you accept all the new motivational quotes.
Yeah, it's going to be a good year for me apparently, as long as I follow these
exactly. Okay, so now it's Cheryl's turn.
Okay. There is an opportunity for Cheryl to start licking things to claim as her own. Hashtag New Year's resolutions. Hashtag my house, my rules. Nice. I am the dominant one in my household, by the way. Okay. Communication through passive-aggressive post-it notes will help Cheryl blossom into a beautiful young woman. Hashtag get it, girl.
I love it. I love how all these like tweets are kind of like the rules that you have to follow for like New Year's resolutions. It's amazing. All right, ladies. So thank you so much, Elizabeth and Cheryl. This has been really amazing, and I feel like I've been so much like inspired by all your stories, and I'm sure that the listeners of this episode are going to be as inspired and motivated and kind of find something relatable to their own life stories. So I'm glad that we've had this chat, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us, Lena.
Good chat.
And thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.